Friends, the format will be as it was last time. First, the Finance Minister will make a presentation, and following which we'll take a few questions. Now, may I request the Honourable Minister to give the presentation.
Good evening. As was promised, we've come back again to talk to you about some things that we're doing towards making the path clear to reach the $5 trillion economy that has been promised. And in the process, the financial sector and the banks are the topic of today's conversation with you. Before I start on that, I just want to make sure that we are not making the announcements without any follow-up. Since the last announcement, and on those very specific points, how much has developed and what are the kind of things which have happened are the first few slides. So the first few slides don't relate to today's announcement, but more for me to come back to you to say since last Friday, what have we done? So in specific, the several announcements that we've made have already seen, particularly on the interest rate reduction and also for the banks to follow up. You've had quite a few product launches by the public sector banks, and compliance have been issued, the instructions for compliance have all been issued, and on a very transparent way in which we wanted to have the one-time settlements to be done in banks. The checkbox related solutions have all come through. So I just want to be clear that the first few steps that we're talking about are specifically related to the banking sector, but post my last announcements. So 8 PSB banks have launched their repo-linked home vehicle mortgage, cash credit loans and so on. Then instructions, all of which is available in the slide at the back. Instructions have been issued on bringing greater customer ease, time-bound return of loan documents. I did mention to you all last time that within 15 days after the loan has been closed, the documents will be given. And also on the point of tracking loan applications, where particularly the SMEs were at a loss because they don't know where the application lie, how long is it taking for them to get cleared. The tracking facilitation has already been done. So the loan management systems in each of the banks are giving them the very clear information at what level, what stage their applications are. And the one-time settlement, which I did mention, has already seen instructions have been issued. And then particularly for the NBFCs, the support that we had promised, which includes housing finance corporations also, the partial credit guarantee schemes have all been executed. So sanction has begun with 3,300 crore already given, and about 30,000 crores are in the pipeline. So they're getting them, the liquidity is reaching them, they're settling matters through the NBFCs and in particular housing finance corporations. The co-origination is something about which we spoke last time. We said the synergy between the NBFCs, which have the spread and reach, and the public sector banks, which are sitting with the liquidity, because of the co-origination, they should be able to reach out much more. So I can very clearly today claim, post my last Friday's announcement, 4 NBFCs have been undertaken. I'll just give a very quick rundown on the various steps which you probably are already familiar with, but I want to bring it to the backdrop of this discussion for today. So no interference in commercial decisions making as opposed to the phone banking which existed prior to 2014. Then 3.38 lakh shell companies have all been closed. They are struck off the register. And then NAFRA, the regulator, has been set up with independent regulatory members in it. The auditors are independent too. And then the resolutions are all happening for stressed assets very clearly through the IBC. So if those are the ways in which we are moving, you can see further some of the reforms which were taken up earlier, release only after ensuring loan conditions and clearances are all being followed now. Consortiums of banks which can get together in funding a particular project which ran to 30 or 31 earlier are now only limited to 7 to 9 banks at best, however big the project may be, not more than 7 to 9 banks in the consortium. Then techno-economic evaluation cells are being created in the banks so that there are no inadequacies found. Then technology analysts used for robust risk assessments are being made, and also to bring in due diligence in banks. So those are committees which we've appointed. And then the early warning signal reading is a very important step that we've taken. Specialized agencies have been set up who are monitoring every loan which is over 250 crores. Further, quickly going through the reforms that we've taken, cash flows were not ring-fenced earlier. Very clearly now, they're very ring-fenced, so you know that you're not going to get into an unknown sudden situation which develops. Then banks were overexposed to corporate loans. Now there is a good asset mix. Sorry, is there some reminder being given anyway? Sanctioning and monitoring of big loans strictly separated so that there are no confusion between the authorities. And then quality of tier 1 capital also has been enhanced. Very importantly, stressed asset verticals are already created, as opposed to the inadequate slippage prevention mechanism, which really let us down in the previous years. Going over quickly again, Fugitive Economic Offenders Act has been passed, as a result of which many of those fugitives and their assets have been, at least their assets have been confiscated, and having confiscated their assets, we are after them wherever they are to get them back into this country to face the law of the land. Then PSP loans, which is within 59 minutes, you're very aware, now we are bringing in a lot more energy into that. So most of the loans sooner will be going through in principle approval in this manner and then getting followed up further. Then foreign branches are rationalized. Adherence to risk-based pricing is also happening, as opposed to the ad hoc pricing mechanism which existed earlier. Then retail and MSME LMS are also implemented. LMS meaning loan management systems are implemented. Quickly again, to avoid further Nirav Modi kind of situation, SWIFT messages are linked to the CBS, the core banking system. IT-based centralized processing centers and verticals are also started. Then MSME bills discounting because of being on threads is introduced. Even the last Friday, I gave one more step further on that, linking that with the GSTN also, so that nowhere will bill discounting for the MSMEs will become a problem. So with all these linkages, they should be able to discount it with greater sense of ease. Then selection at arm's length through bank, board, bureau. So no selections are going to be politically interfered with. It will happen professionally. Then the MDs of banks selection from market for large PSPs and wider pool of other PSPs. So you're not limiting the choice of who can be running the bank as a managing director. From a limited pool of people, you're opening it up for the market. Whoever wishes to come to that position will now be able to give their services because they have the domain expertise. The non-executive chairman is being introduced. Earlier, only the State Bank of India had it. Now all banks shall have it. So from all this, what is the gain that we've seen, and what is it that we can put on record? We just want to show that loan recovery record levels have been reached. If in financial year 18, 77,000 odd amount was collected, 77,000 crores, now it's crossed 1,21,000 crores. That's about record recovery levels. Then the gross NPAs, I want particular attention to be drawn of the media for this. Gross NPAs have come down. So in December 2018, if you had 8.65 lakh crores, now the asset quality has improved, NPAs have come down, and the level at which they are today is only 7.90 lakh crores. The next is the provisional coverage ratio. sorry. Yeah, provisional coverage ratio. You can see in the chart which is given, the highest in the last 7 years has happened, 75.3%. This is already existing under the NPA. Complementary is provided for, right? So highest level is being provided for by 75.3%. One particular thing I'd like to draw your attention on the gross NPAs is the figures come down from 8.65 lakh crores to 7.90 crores. I make it a point to repeat this because in the recent past I had seen reports which were misleading. I hope this picture clarifies the actuals for you. Enhanced profitability, again very important. Of a total 18 public sector banks, 6 public sector banks alone had enhanced profitability when we were talking about it in the fourth quarter of year ending 19. Whereas now, when we're talking about the first quarter of the financial year ending 20, we are talking about 14 public sector banks in profit, as against 2 in the financial year of 18. So of the 18 public sector banks, 14 are in profit earning situation. I also want to report on what has happened and what has developed post the consolidation of Bank of Baroda, Vijaya Bank and Dena Bank together. So what's the impact of that? What have we gained out of it? I just want to put that before you. We've actually had wide-ranging benefits. Wider offerings and enhanced customization has happened. Operations rationalized much more than before. Verticalization initiated. Very important, just no retrenchment of any staff. Very important again, admin staffs have been redeployed for business, which means the core function of the business improves and best practices were replicated everywhere. And when I say this, and I'm just saying this because if there was one teacher which was very good in one of the things they understand and do something, they're gone. So we are giving them longer term. The last point there about the strengthening of the board committee system is the management committee of the board loan sanction thresholds have been enhanced by up to 100%. So if they had an X amount this time, they would be having 2X to enable focused attention to higher value loan proposals. So this gives them the additional strength and power to go ahead with higher value loans. So further on the governance reforms, non-official directors' effectiveness is something which all of us have been questioning, discussing. We're trying to bring in some strength there. So the non-official directors' functions will have to be now comparable, analogous to the independent directors. So that's something which is happening now. Boards are given mandate for training of directors, both for the induction and for specialized purposes. Boards are given mandate again to